I've seen firsthand the negative consequences that trading can have on certain traders' lives. And there have been certain times throughout my journey where this has been the case. This has definitely been the case with a handful of my clients as well that I've worked with. And we've seen countless examples throughout history of trading having a significantly negative impact and these negative consequences on individuals' lives. So I wanted to put together an incredibly important video for each of you. And I wanted to go through and explain how trading can ruin your life and how it can negatively impact all 7 areas of your life. And the reason I want to do this is, one, as a way to bring awareness to the certain challenges that you may face or you may have already faced as a trader or are currently facing. And on top of that, I want to talk a little bit on the highly actionable and effective solutions that you can put in place to ensure that if you're currently going through this challenge, you have a solution there to address it, or you can put things in advance so you don't actually have these negative consequences from the markets impacting your life. So this is a very important topic to address. Like we're going to discuss, a lot of people say you should make sure that trading doesn't affect your life and you should just compartmentalize trading and not let it affect your life. And that's a brilliant idea, that's a nice idea, but I haven't seen any evidence of it. The truth is, whether you like it or not, trading is going to seep into your relationships, into impacting your health, into impacting your mental health, into impacting all areas of your life, your work, your business, etc. So if you don't have these things implemented, if you don't have solutions and processes in place, then you're going to be at the mercy of the markets. And the market could very well have a significantly negative impact on your life. So today we're talking all about the negative impacts of trading on all areas of your life. And we're gonna break this apart. We're gonna go one by one through each area of life, and we're gonna put actionable solutions in place. Okay, now the big problem we're addressing here are the negative effects of trading on the 7 areas of life. Although people say you shouldn't let trading affect your life, which I think is a nice idea, I've seen no evidence of this. Everybody I've worked with, directly or indirectly, trading seeps into their life. It seeps into their relationships because at the end of the day, it's something that's going to affect your psychology, and your psychology affects the way you see the world and act in the world, no matter what you're doing, your relationships, your business, etc., etc. So if you've had a terrible day or a highly stressful day as a trader, that's going to affect your sleep. That's going to affect your ability to perform at work. It's going to affect your mood and relationships. It's going to affect your self-image and how you see yourself. Okay, so what's important is to understand that trading will influence the 7 areas of life, and it will influence it both positively and negatively. So I want to make you aware of both. I want to make you aware of, just to make sure this presentation, this YouTube video is balanced, give you an awareness that yes, trading will bring advantage and there are pros to trading to each of the 7 areas of life, but there are also cons and there are also consequences and there are also risks that you have to be aware of and mitigate. And that's really the mindset I would love to impart on to you guys, is that trading is going to bring both advantage and disadvantage to your life. And it's about having an awareness of both the sides of the equation. Don't blindly think that trading is going to be this holy grail that's going to change your life for the better, for the good, because that's not the case. There are going to be both advantages and disadvantages to being a trader. And there are going to be both pros and cons, and there are going to be risks and rewards. So it's about having an awareness of both sides of the equation and then mitigating the consequences, mitigating the risks, and putting things in place to manage the consequences so that they don't have such a negative, significant impact on your life. I hope that makes sense. So it's important to implement the following to ensure trading doesn't negatively impact your life. And I'm going to address each of the following. Now, the first area of life is health. So everybody knows, and this has been from personal experience, has been from working with many, many clients and many traders as well, is that trading can have a significant impact on your stress levels, on your mood, and on your sleep. And I think those are probably the main components that seep into other subcomponents. So it's really important to recognize and to acknowledge that if you don't have processes and strategies and tools in place, then if you do take a loss in the market, then you're probably going to have some level of resentment to that. And that's most likely going to linger in your mind. And that's most likely going to affect your mood, which is then going to affect your relationships. It's most likely going to affect your sleep. It's most likely going to affect the way you see yourself and how you go off and perform. And you may not feel like doing things because of the loss in the markets. So there's definitely a correlation between losing in the market and that affecting your life. And so too, I've seen many traders, and myself included, who maybe have had significant wins in the market and they've made a lot of money that day. And now they're a little bit proud, they're a little bit puffed up, and now they think they're better than other people. And maybe they talk down to their partner, or to their spouse, to their girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Or maybe they think that, I don't need to go to work anymore. I don't need to, put any more effort into my business. I've just had this extremely successful day. So both winning and losing can have an effect on your life. And you may fall part of the licensing effect. You may have, you may think because of that big win, it's okay to do things like skip routine and all that type of stuff. So whether you like it or not, trading is going to seep in to affect your emotional state, your stress levels, and all those types of things. And both winning and losing are going to affect those things. So it's really important to have processes in place. It's important to have tools in place to be able to manage your psychology, to be able to manage winning and losing. And I pass on the tools and the framework in the 12-week program. But things that could very well help with that is having a clear trading plan, making sure you know how to balance your perception and your emotional state. And when you find yourself getting extremely proud and really infatuated with a win, it's important to make yourself aware of the drawbacks and risks. And when you've had a really shitty day and you've had a bad trading day, you have processes there where maybe it's 15 minutes of sitting down and journaling the benefits and the lessons to re-equilibrate yourself there, or do a deep meditation. So it's about having things in place there. So if you don't have processes in place to manage your psychology as a trader, then it's going to impact your health, your stress levels, etc., etc. Now, on the flip side of that, being a successful trader and making profit from the market and having those, being able to scale that and scale your income through maybe funded accounts, for example, then that's going to have a positive impact on your health, because now you can afford to pay for personal trainers and better food and eat high quality organic whole foods. And maybe there's more time freedom to dedicate yourself to working out and doing all those types of things. And even being unsuccessful and experiencing loss and experiencing adversity as a trader, that can make you more resilient, and that can build up a thicker skin within yourself. So there are benefits to your health for going through the trading journey as well. And it's important to be aware that there are benefits like those things I just mentioned, but there are also drawbacks like the things I mentioned. Stress usually is a common one, impacting sleep is a common one. So it's important to have things in place to address those. There are numerous times in my journey where I was woken up in the middle of the night or to manage a position or to do something, or I saw I'd taken a loss on my phone, and that had I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night, or was extremely stressed. So there's no doubt in my mind, if you don't have processes in place, it's going to impact your health. And it's really important to, again, be aware of that and implement processes, whether you've been through the 12-week program and you have the proper tools there, the mindset balancing tools that I teach, to actually go there and address each of the subcomponents, or you want to do something maybe that's slightly less effective but will still get your result, like a meditation or a journal. Those things are great, put them in. Or maybe for you love to go and exercise and go for a run, and that's part of the process that you have to manage losing so that it doesn't affect your health. Okay, so be aware, both benefit, drawback, and mitigate the risks. Now, wealth. Obviously, the benefits of being a trader, if you have a clear edge and you've put that into a mechanical trading plan and you're consistent with your execution and you're seeing consistent results anywhere, it could be as small as, or I don't want to say as small, but they could be relative to what people preach out there. Small results would be like 2 to 4% a month, which I personally think are amazing results. If you can consistently make 2 to 4% per month, and you have an edge that you believe in and is certain because you've back tested and you've seen results from it, then you can go and scale that, and you can go and trade 100, 300, 500, $1 million worth of capital on that edge. And now all of a sudden you're scaling your income significantly. And that can turbo boost your wealth, and then you can take that income you've made and you can, save a portion of it, pay taxes portion of it, and then invest a portion of it and turbocharge your wealth. So I truly believe that if you have an edge, if you have a profitable edge and you can put that into some sort of a process that allows you to go off and consistently execute on that edge, you can really turbo boost your wealth because you can scale that significantly. And trading allows you to have leverage. It allows you to leverage prop firms and investment and all that type of stuff, so you can scale the income. But there's a big if there. You have to have those components in place to have consistent results in the first place. Because one of the drawbacks that I see in relative to wealth is a lot of people have a fantasy that, one day I'm going to be rich from trading. And then I simply ask them, you ask them questions, do you have an edge? Have you put this into a mechanical trading plan? Have you structured that? Do you have a routine? Are you consistent with the execution of that edge? Are you sure your edge is actually performed over previous data? Do you have that data? Can you show me? And the answers are no, 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 no. And they don't have anything tangible right now that actually proves that they're going to generate wealth from their trading, which means they're gambling at the end of the day. What they have is this fantasy of being wealthy from trading, and then they come to the market and they just gamble every day because they don't have an edge, or they don't have a trading plan, or they haven't managed their psychology. So every time they show up to the market, the way they're executing is completely different. So they're not executing on an edge. And in those circumstances, in those situations, then this whole idea of being wealthy from trading is creating this fantasy that they're chasing after. But in reality, in their actual trading life, there's nothing there that substantiates that they're actually going to be wealthy from trading. So you have to be able to be aware of that and ground yourself and really just be objective and rational in your thinking and ask, do I truly have an edge here? Am I actually rocking up to the market and executing with an edge? Because if not, you're gambling and you're run by a fantasy, but there's no evidence of actual profitability or the fact that you will be profitable. So it's really important to recognize that you don't want to be caught in this fantasy and be blindly thinking that you're going to all of a sudden become wealthy in the future. It's a very objective and very rational thought process of things you have to do. First and foremost, make sure you have an edge. Then put that edge into a mechanical trading plan. Then show up every day and structure your life. Or before that, make sure you can manage fear and greed so that every time you come to the market, you're not pulled by your emotions. You can stick to your trading plan. And then the fourth step to that is structure your life in a way that allows you to actually consistently show up and execute at the market. So be aware that yes, there are great benefits you can get from your trading because it's very scalable, and it's in a sense very accessible to get that, the extra leverage and being able to scale. But you don't want to be blindly pulled by that fantasy and then not be actually trading something that has a proven edge and not be gambling. So you have to be aware of that little mentality there, that fantasy. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, relationships. Now, if you think about it, your relationship with the market is very similar to a relationship with another individual. In the market, you have a certain set of priorities. You have a certain agenda, things you want to do, which is your trading plan. Your trading plan outlines what specifically you're looking for and what specifically you will execute on, because that's part of your edge. That will give you profitability. So too, the market has its own little agenda. It does what it kind of wants to do, and it moves in a certain way. Now, if you come to the market and you perceive yourself in a state of pride, better than the market and invincible, and thinking that you can talk down to the market, and you project a low quality setup onto the market, or you try and force your setup onto the market when the market isn't ready for it, then guess what? The market's never wrong. You're going to be trying to force a setup onto the market that isn't ready, and you're going to get humbled very quickly. And so too, if you're, perceiving yourself below the market in a state of shame and a state of fear, and the market's telling you you've got an opportunity but you're too fearful to act, you're also not going to get profitable that way. So the relationship you have with the market is being able to be level with the market, recognizing that the market's going to do certain things, and when the market aligns with what is important to you, your trading plan, that's when it's most profitable to execute in that moment. So your relationship with the market, when you're above the market and trying to project onto it, tell it what to do, you're going to get humbled. So too, if you're below the market and, the market is presenting an opportunity, but you're too fearful to act in that moment, in both those situations, you're not going to have a consistent execution of your trading plan. And you can sort of use that as an analogy for a relationship with anybody, a relationship with a partner or a spouse. Again, if you're perceiving yourself better than or in a state of pride and you're puffed up and talking down to that individual, trying to project onto them what you think they should be doing, and using language like you should be doing this, you need to be doing this, you have to be doing this, and projecting onto that individual, you're going to get humbled, because that individual ultimately has their own set of priorities, they have their own goals and their own what they would love to accomplish. And when we try and project what we want onto what they want, there's conflict there. And so too, if you're below that other individual and injecting what they want, and they're saying you should be doing this, you have to be doing this, that's ultimately not sustainable either, because you have your own priorities, they have their own priorities, and projecting and injecting priorities isn't sustainable, because you're eventually going to get burnt out doing something that you don't want to be doing, and they're going to get burnt out expecting themselves to do something that they don't want to be doing. But if you're level with that other individual, and you know what's important to them, and you know what's important to you, and you can communicate effectively, and you can communicate how what is most important to you is also important to them, and you can show them the benefits relative to what's important to them, and you can have that congruency between your set of priorities. That's what a loving relationship is. It's two individuals who have their own priorities, their own goals, helping each other go and fulfill those particular objectives. So the way you communicate with the market can be directly transferable to the way you communicate to your spouse. It can also be directly transferable to how you communicate in work to others, to people you're trying to sell to customers, to employees, etc., etc. So trading can have a very positive impact on people's relationships, because they learn to listen to the other person, and they learn to know that the other person has their own life, their own set of priorities and what's important to them. And they learn that just as when they try and project onto the market what they think the market should be doing, they get humbled, same thing's going to happen in their relationships. But there are also consequences to relationships with trading. Sometimes the stress and the mood and all those things can affect the way you are in relationships. So it's really important in those situations that, again, you have processes in place to master your trading mindset, what I teach in the 12-week program. And you have tools and things in place to manage your psychology so that a shitty or a good day in the market doesn't affect the way you are to your loved ones and the people you love. The next area of life is business or work. And I see, again, so many traders have this fantasy of whatever it is. It's not having to go to work, having time to do whatever they want, and they're on their own clock doing what they want whenever they want. They have this fantasy, this idea of trading is going to bring them that. And because they're so attached to that fantasy now of what they think trading can bring them, all of a sudden they resent their work and they hate their work, because their work, they have to rock up at a certain time, they get a certain paycheck, etc., etc. But they're comparing their work or their business now to this fantasy of what they think they can be getting from their trading. There's no evidence of that in their life just yet, but they think they can be getting that. And now all of a sudden they hate their work and they don't want to go to work because of what they think they can be getting from trading. This is probably one of the most common things that I deal with in one-on-one consultations with traders, with clients. And one thing that I really help that trader do is link how their work serves and benefits how working this job. All right, you have a goal, you're going to become a full-time trader in 12 months time. Great, there are certain steps that you need to take to be able to get there. The 4 main steps are identify an edge, get clear on that edge, make sure it's true, put into a trading plan, learn to manage fear and greed, and then structure your life to be able to consistently execute on that edge. And then there are 8 additional steps around that to truly master your trading psychology. So there are very proven things that you can do to become a consistently profitable trader, right? So that may take 12 months. Now, you're going to be in your work anyway, you're going to be working your job anyway. What's the point in being resentful to it? Why not now shift your mentality and shift your perception towards your job and help see how it's helping the next 12 months trading journey of learning, studying, developing a trading plan, and you get paid to do those certain things. You get paid to become a great profitable trader. So learn to shift the mentality from I hate my job because I'm comparing it to a fantasy to, all right, this job is actually helping me on this journey this next 12 months. And what we do is we take each of the components in the work that they feel resentful to, right? Certain things they have to do and link them one by one to the action steps of becoming a profitable trader. And when that shift in mentality comes and they realize that, oh, you know what? I'm working this job, it's the perfect transitionary path for me. I get paid, I get a bit of social interaction at work, I get the structure and the routine, so I'm held accountable to only focus on high priority things in my trading. And I could see that if I wasn't working this job, if I just left this job and went full-time with my trading, I don't have any guaranteed results from my trading. I don't have a stable source of income. I've lost all social interaction. I've lost all structure and accountability in my life. So when they shift the mentality and they realize that, you know what, we can actually link my current job, my 9 to 5, and my part-time job, and I can transition over the next 12 months from maybe full-time work, and then I start seeing results in my trading to maybe part-time work. And then maybe at that point you realize that, shit, I have all this free time, I want to go back to full-time work. Or you realize that, you know what, I really love the freedom of trading full-time, and I maybe want to start another business, I want to go travel, whatever it may be. I'm going to go full-time trading now, I'm going to leave my work entirely. Then that's a wise way to transition with proper cash savings, etc., etc. But to have the mentality of, I hate my job because I'm addicted to this fantasy that is promoted in the trading industry of working from a beach and making money before a certain time, which I haven't seen it. Every single full-time trader I know is working pretty diligently. They're dedicated to their craft. They're not necessarily sitting on some beach somewhere. They're very committed to what they do. So it's important to be aware of these dynamics and not compare your work to some fantasy that doesn't have any evidence of being true. In my opinion, that's a little bit silly. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So be aware of that dynamic, and trading can be both an advantage. It can be an advantage to your work because you can start to see those things. And chances are you're already aware of how trading's taking away from your work. You can see that. I could be dedicating all 8 hours to becoming a great trader, and I have to be told what to do by my boss, etc., etc. So chances are you're already aware of the drawbacks, but the truth is there are benefits to each of those things as well. There are benefits to working 8 hours elsewhere and only having 2 hours to dedicate to your trading. I've seen traders who have all day to work on their trading squander that time. They don't use it effectively. And Parkinson's law says that time will fill, the task that you've allocated will fill the time you've set for that. So, or whatever, vice versa, right? If you're working on a task, you've got 8 hours to get that task done, you're going to take 8 hours, whereas if you've got 2 hours to get it done, it's going to take 2 hours. So sometimes it's a benefit to have less time because you're sticking to priority and you're sticking to what's important to get done, and you're being very diligent and accountable to get that done. And there are benefits to each of those things. So I encourage you to be aware of both. There are going to be drawbacks, but be aware of the benefits as well. And be aware how your trading helps you become a better trader. Your current work helps you become a better trader, and also become aware of how your trading helps you become better and more effective at work. usually along the lines of the communication that we talked about in the relationship thing. Okay, hope that makes sense. Now, your mental faculties, this is a big one. A lot of you know my story about how I lost that a round of investment, private investment, and that threw me into a negative spiral with my psychology and my emotions. I didn't know what was going on in my head. I didn't understand what was happening, and I fell victim to the circumstances that were put before me, not because of the market, not because there's anything wrong or evil at the market. At the end of the day, it's all about how I perceived those certain events and how I chose to, or what I chose to do with those certain events. So if you don't have mastery of your psychology, you don't understand perception, you don't understand the difference between reality and actuality, meaning your reality, what you see, versus what is actually out there, and you don't understand emotions, you don't understand where emotions come from or what they're trying to tell you, if you don't understand the ratios and perceptions that yield emotions, you don't understand the difference between your amygdala and your prefrontal cortex, the survival versus thrival parts of your brain, if you don't understand those differences, then chances are you're going to be run by the market, and you're going to be stuck in fear and greed and run externally by the market, and your chances of being consistently profitable they wither away. Because in order to be consistently profitable, you have to know how to manage fear and greed and be able to get back to a process, or be able to get back to an objective decision. And objective decisions can't be made when you're in a state of survival, in a state of fear and greed. So the brain you bring into trading is the exact opposite brain you need to be a successful trader. The survival part of our brain isn't a great trader, but there are ways to transcend that, and there are things you can do to manage the survival part of your brain so that when you're trading, you're more process orientated and you're more rational and you're more objective. And that's like a muscle you have to train. And you will have to do it over and over and over as a way to train that muscle. So if you don't understand your psychology, chances are you're going to be run by the market. You're going to be extremely resentful when you lose. You're going to be extremely happy when you win, extremely depressed when you lose, extremely elated when you win. And you're going to be run on the boom and bust cycle. Oscillations of good, bad, up, down, happy, sad, elated, depressed. And that boom and bust cycle is going to run your life. It's going to run your emotions. Because now what's happening is you're seeking after everything in the positive and you're trying to avoid everything in the negative. You're trying to seek after the gain of winning, the dopamine of winning, and trying to avoid the loss, the pain associated to losing. And now you're run by the market. I hope that makes sense. You're like an animal trying to react and trying to seek and avoid. And this is where addictions come in. This is where being addicted to trading comes in. This is where the gambling mentality comes in. So if you don't understand your psychology and know how to manage that, first and foremost, watch some of my other YouTube videos, because I talk a lot about this on this channel. In fact, this is all I talk about. And check out the 12-week program as well. That's the best trading psychology education out there right now on understanding your brain and having actionable tools to actually go in and address your psychology. So if you don't understand your mental faculties, you're going to be run by the market. And there are serious consequences to this. I believe it was Jesse Livermore. He wrote Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, I believe, don't quote me. But he ended up committing suicide at the end of his life because he had been through so many cycles of the boom and bust. He'd made so much money, and he'd lost so much money, and he didn't know how to manage those oscillations or those volatilities, and he ended up killing himself because of that. Or maybe that was one of the reasons why he ended up killing himself. So there are serious consequences to not understanding your psychology. There are serious consequences to not having the proper tools and processes in place. And it may be okay on smaller amounts of capital, but as you start to scale up, which I know a lot of you are, once you get your trading plan in place, once you have more confidence in your execution, and you start to manage your psychology, some of the people I'm working with, They're going from trading smaller amounts of capital to taking on $500,000 in a month's time. That's a big jump. So you have to know how to manage the stresses and the volatilities and the loss and gain components that come with that. Okay? Enough on that. It's a bit of a tangent, but hope that makes sense. So there are consequences if you don't know how to manage your psychology. So too, trading is very much, many traders know this, that when they start trading, they realize that it's a game of personal development and self-mastery. And you have to be on top of it, and you have to master yourself in a sense. You have to be disciplined, you have to be focused, you have to be switched on, you have to be eating well, you have to be maybe training or exercising if you're into that. You have to be sharp mentally. You have to have your relationships in order if you want to trade effectively. So they're starting to realize that the benefits of trading is it helps you get your shit together as an individual. And it also helps promote levels of resilience. And it's a learning game. You have to go and study, and you have to go develop, and you have to go through the process of failure and getting all this feedback and refining and make incremental refinements and going again. So you learn so much from being a trader mentally. It's important to be aware of both the benefits and drawbacks. Now, socially, there are consequences socially. For example, well, let's start with the benefits socially. There are many benefits socially. Just these last probably 5 years or so, I've been part of many different communities, even longer, 6 years. And I've met even longer, 7 years, because that initial mentor as well was a great social relationship. You meet so many amazing people in this journey, and so many weird and wonderful people in their own way that are driven, they're like-minded, they're dedicated, and they're all on a unique path, and they're all so smart and switched on, and you know, you meet some amazing people. And some of my best friends, my lifelong friends, I've met through trading communities. And you meet some really interesting people, and there's a great social connection there. So that's one of the huge benefits of trading. And one of the drawbacks is that there are social repercussions to trading because it is different, because it isn't part of the status quo necessarily. There will be certain challenges and there will be certain consequences, and that you have to learn to face and you have to learn to deal with. And one of those is having a sense of self-confidence in yourself and the journey you're on, and identifying and being really congruent and knowing exactly what role trading plays in your life, so that you do have the confidence to go and talk about it or share it and be clear on what you're doing. So you want to be aware that trading has both benefits and drawbacks, and you may get reprimanded from friends and family members, and that reprimand is going to be essential because it's going to keep you grounded, it's going to keep you out of a state of pride, and it's going to ensure that what you're doing, you're actually getting results from what you're doing. And if over 6 months or a year you're not getting results, then it could be a time to reevaluate and recognize, all right, which of those 4 things am I missing? Do I have an edge, truly? Have I put that into a mechanical trading plan, truly? Have I managed my mental game, my fear and greed, truly? And have I structured my life? Because sometimes having family and friends come in and say, like, what's going on is the best thing that can happen to you, because you stay accountable to be objective, results-driven, results-based. I see so many people get caught in this mentality of, I don't have results, but I'm in this community, and so many people have results in this community, and I'm blindly just executing because of people in my community, for example. I don't have any results, but I'm doing it, and I will eventually be successful. And in my opinion, that's not the best mentality to have. The best mentality is always to be data-driven, objective, rational in your thinking. And when people come in and question you and ask, why aren't you making money from this? Then being objective and being real about that and really asking yourself that question, if after you've let your edge play out for 6 months to maybe a year and you're not seeing profitability from that, you want to go back and you want to really evaluate what's going on. Where am I falling short here? What are the things I'm missing? How can I refine this? Because you don't want to get caught in that cult mentality either of just blindly doing something even though it doesn't work. So there are both benefits and drawbacks to the social aspects of trading. I have some amazing friends from trading, really cool people, and you meet some really interesting people. And I'm currently traveling around the world this year, and I'm meeting some amazing people, and some relationships that were formed 5-6 years ago online, and meeting them for the first time. That's pretty damn cool. And yeah, it's an interesting little world, but keep those things in mind. And the impacts on trading on your spirituality. Now this may be thinking, oh, this is a weird one, but spirituality can mean whatever it means to you. You know, for some people, your spiritual mission is just going off and becoming a consistently profitable trader. Or it could be your work, or it could be your relationship, or it could be anything in the 7 areas of life. Whatever your life demonstrates as most important to you is your spiritual mission. It doesn't have to necessarily mean a certain religion or a certain god or gods, but it means whatever it means to you. I've met with people who are part of different religions. They subscribe to different sets of beliefs, and that's all fine. It's whatever works for you at the end of the day. Now, there are certain things that I've seen relative to spirituality that are both advantage and disadvantage relative to trading. Now, the first thing that's very clear to me is that traders who are doing very, very well have a deeper reason why behind their trading than just making money for themselves. They literally have this sense of, let's call it a spiritual mission or whatever it may be, or a deep reason why behind their trading that's driving that. And what's common that I've seen with the more successful traders, the ones that are trading larger capital and they've been in the journey for a long time, and they're doing very well, getting great results, is that their reason why is bigger than themselves, and it's bigger than just making money for themselves. For example, they are thinking about how trading can impact their family, their wider family, how it can impact their community, how it can impact beyond that as well. And they're not just thinking about themselves, they're thinking about other people, and they've got a bigger reason why. And so too, they're not just thinking about how they can pay bills at the end of the month, they're thinking how they can impact certain people over a year time, over 3 years, over 5 years. So what they're doing, in a sense, is their reason why is bigger than themselves and bigger than a small time frame. They've expanded their time and space horizons, in other words, and their reason why behind their trading is bigger and deeper and more meaningful than other people. And what I think this does is when things get tough, or when you have a challenging day or a challenging thing, relative to the overall bigger reason why, that's nothing. It doesn't matter, right? A loss doesn't matter relative to the bigger reason why. So they stick with it more, and they're more persistent, they're more consistent, and they have greater levels of motivation and discipline because they're being driven by a deeper reason why. So I've seen traders who are doing very, very well. They have some sense, and I'm going to use the word spiritual, but it doesn't have to be spiritual, some sort of mission that's driving their trading. And it's beyond just themselves, and it's beyond their trading. So keep that in mind, consider that, and consider expanding your reason why and your mission. Okay, I know for me, initially at least, it started as just, I want to make money from my trading. I really want to leave my job. And then obviously that mentality shifted. And then I started to think a little bit bigger. And then I really started to learn and develop my understanding of the psychology and the human mind and human behavior. And the mission started to grow. And then I wanted to now utilize that, my understanding of psychology and human behavior, to help the trading community, the wider community. So I was starting to think bigger than that. And my trading then became a vehicle to be able to do that as well. And now when I go off and trade, it's not necessarily just for me. It's also a way, it's my own education. It's a way for me to see, all right, you know, in this certain situation, maybe a 12-week program student would be in the same thing. How can I develop a tool? How can I develop education to help myself, to help the other person? So being a trader now, I've expanded my awareness, and now when I'm in certain situations as a trader, I'm not only thinking about how I can get out of them, but how I can help other people get out of them. And then trading's expanded even bigger than that when opening Tellus Capital and thinking beyond just myself and all that type of stuff, and thinking about really building out a team of traders all around the world that are very successful and doing great things with that. So now that's expanded. The reason the time and space horizons have expanded, and every time I start a new project, the time horizons expand, right? Now thinking with Telos and Master Your Trading Mindset in 5-10 year increments. So what started as just, I want to make some money, has now grown into something that's a lot more meaningful, and there's a deeper reason why behind that. And my trading as well has evolved, and how I trade has evolved, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's really important. Now, there may be some negative consequences if you are part of, or subscribe to certain belief systems or certain religions. I don't want to just isolate religions here, because it's not always the religion, but it's a certain belief system that you subscribe to that, for example, there are certain beliefs that you can hold about money, about good and bad, about what's right and wrong relative to money, that I've seen impact traders' ability to hold on to money. And they have this sense of guilt when they make money, and now they don't want to hold on to it. They don't feel worthy of it because it doesn't align with their belief system or their religion or what their parents told them, whatever. So you have to be aware and acutely aware of your beliefs. And you have to be acutely aware of how these beliefs manifest through your trading. Because you may hold a certain belief that's outdated, that may not actually be true necessarily. And if you study religions and you study the development of religions, and you study the philosophers before the religions, and you start to see how the religions came about and how they were influenced by certain individuals with power at certain times of the development of that religion, then you realize that some of these beliefs aren't really substantial necessarily, but they were used by individuals in the state of power at that time to set the best environment for them. And they were using these beliefs to get the best advantage to themselves at that point in time. So you want to be really aware of the belief systems that you hold about yourself, about the people around you, about money, and about trading, whatever it may be, because there may be some deep-seated beliefs in there. And I've had many traders come through the 12-week program. We talk about beliefs in detail in week 8. I've got my Belief Buster tool, and I teach all about beliefs, and I show them how you can identify the beliefs, how you can ground them, how you can neutralize them, how you can transcend them. And I've had some really great messages from that week alone of traders realizing that I've been run by these beliefs I didn't even know were there. They're just quiet subconscious beliefs at the back of your mind. So you have to be aware, both, your trading and spirituality, if you integrate them correctly together, and you're not setting dogma or rules that can't be lived by, but you're having a mission behind your trading, you can turbo boost your trading. But you also have to be aware that certain beliefs and certain dogma and certain rules that you may have injected earlier on in your life can also be negatively impacting your trading. You have to be aware of that. Okay? So, this was more just a discussion probed by these ideas, but hopefully that's insightful and you've learned some things. Now the truth. The market's not to blame, right? It's never the market's fault necessarily. The market didn't do this to you. The market didn't, ruin your relationships. The market didn't ruin your health necessarily. But what I'm trying to communicate, the market's a neutral tool. It's about how you use it. And it's all about moderation. If you're obsessively trading and you're infatuated with making money and you want more and more and you're in this gambling mentality with no control, with no trading plan, no moderation whatsoever, then the market will drain your resources in all 7 areas of life. But that's not necessarily the market's fault. The market's just a tool. It's going to react, right? So it's really important to understand that everything that happens to you in the market is a reflection of yourself at the end of the day. And this is where self-mastery is so important. It's so important to empower all areas of life and be aware of how trading fits into your life and be aware of how trading, the good and bads of trading can actually serve and benefit all areas of life and vice versa. That's where it becomes super, super important. So I encourage you to realize that it's the trader's choice how they interpret these events, and it's not necessarily what happens to you, it's how you perceive what happens to you. in trading and in life. Okay? So the master key here that I want to communicate, I want to pass on to you, and hopefully today has opened your mind to this and given you some insights. You want to master this. No matter what happens to you in your trading, good or bad, you want to ask yourself, you want to take that thing, let's say for example, a perceived challenging thing happened to you in your trading, you want to ask yourself, how does me experiencing this negative, supposedly negative thing, how does it actually serve and benefit every single area of my life, all 7 areas of my life? So you can learn to link whatever happens to you in your trading to every area of your life, and you can start to see that you going off and becoming a trader and going through the journey, the goods and bads of becoming a successful trader is actually also helping you empower all areas of life. Okay, hope that makes sense. So use it to your advantage. No matter what happens to you in your trading, use it to your advantage. Link it to the areas of life and be diligent with that and sit down and really ask, how is me experiencing this drawdown, how does that help my relationships? Okay, how does it help my health and my resilience? How does it help my mental faculties? What am I learning? What am I gaining that's positive from this? How is it helping me as a leader in society, making me more resilient? Okay, so you want to really go on this thought process because that will help transcend the judgment of your trading and help you link your trading to the 7 areas of life so that trading doesn't ruin it, doesn't ruin your life, but it actually helps empower it. And you realize that every day as a trader, you're going to learn something that's going to help you in your day-to-day life as well. Hopefully this was insightful and you learned a few things. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. But if you found this useful and you know other people benefit from it, please share it with them. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you resonate with this type of content, you're gonna love the 12-week program. In there, you get one-on-one coaching from me, all the tools, all the education you need to master your trading mindset, to overcome the negative emotions in your trading and to accomplish your funding goals. So I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Cheers.